The fading American dream. Factories moving east. What if one day Intel chips are made in Southeast Asia? iPhones are built in India. Ford and GM cars are produced in Asia. And Boeing planes are completed in China. This is not just about moving factories. It's about the American middle class slowly moving overseas. In 2025, the American dream feels like it's disappearing. Factories are closing. The "Made in the USA" label has become a memory. It used to mean pride. Now it's like an old photo in a dusty garage. Still hanging, but forgotten. Bills are rising. Jobs are disappearing. And small towns that once powered America are growing silent. We export jobs and import worry. Parents work harder but earn less. Children face uncertain futures. And the pride that once came with American products is fading. Did we sell our factories cheaply and buy dependence at a high cost? Today, we'll explore 5 American companies leaving the US and how this change affects everyone. Apple, the American icon that moved east. Look at your iPhone. It still says, designed in California. But most of its parts are made in India. Not in California. Not in China. But in Bengaluru, a new technology hub in Asia. 1 out of every 5 iPhones is now made in India. And by 2026, almost all iPhones may have Indian roots. Apple, once a symbol of American innovation, is now building its future in Asia. Thousands of workers assemble iPhones in huge Indian factories. Meanwhile, Americans stand in lines to buy them, not build them. Why did Apple move? Because it's cheaper and safer for business. India offers low labor costs, tax breaks, and free land. Just like America once did for its own industries. Vietnam also builds Apple products like iPads, MacBooks, and AirPods. But back home, US factories sit empty. Workers who once made circuit boards now pack boxes for Amazon. One man said, "I used to build iPhones. Now I pack orders." It's sad but true. America invented the iPhone. But it doesn't make it anymore. Made in the USA has become a memory. A silent neon sign that once glowed with pride. The iPhone shows what globalization looks like today. Designed in America. Made in India. Assembled in Vietnam. Sold back to Americans for thousands of dollars. We don't make things anymore. We just rent them. Is this smart business or a sign of decline? If Apple moved east, what about Intel, the brain of American tech? Intel, the brain moving abroad. Intel's slogan said, "What's inside matters." Now what's inside comes from Vietnam and Malaysia. Intel was once the pride of American engineering. Its factories in Arizona ran day and night. But slowly, production lines began to move overseas. Today, Intel's largest plant is in Vietnam. It has already made over 2 billion chips. The brain of the digital world now lives far from Silicon Valley. Why did this happen? Because it's cheaper. Labor in Vietnam costs 10 times less than in the US. Malaysia welcomed Intel with open arms. Intel invested $7 billion to expand there. Meanwhile, the US launched the CHIPS Act to bring production back. But factories take years to build. And companies want profits every quarter. So, America's plan to rebuild keeps getting delayed. Intel still makes wafers in Arizona. But then they fly 8,000 miles away for packaging. Someone joked, "We didn't lose our brains. We just mailed our hands overseas." But when the brain and hands stay apart, the brain forgets how to build. In America, people talk about AI and superchips. In Asia, workers are quietly building them. Intel dreamed of Silicon Valley. But real silicon is now made in Southeast Asia. Is this smart planning or a slow surrender? Ford. The muscle moving east once. The roar of a Ford F-150 engine in Michigan was the sound of pride. Now, that same roar comes from Thailand and Vietnam. Ford spent almost $1 billion building new plants in Thailand. It now makes popular models there, like the Ranger and Everest. In Vietnam, Ford makes cars once built in Detroit. Labor is cheaper. Exports are easier. And governments there welcome foreign companies. In the US, costs are higher and rules are stricter. Each car built in America feels more expensive than it should. The slogan says, "Built Ford Tough," but now it feels like, "Built Ford somewhere else." Detroit, once called Motor City, is fading. Old factories are covered in weeds. Bars are half empty. One worker said, "I used to build Mustangs. Now I repair my own house." Ford didn't just move jobs. It moved pride. Companies succeed abroad. But workers at home are left behind. The cars still run, just not in America. Is this smart globalization or quiet defeat? Boeing, the pride of the sky, painted in China in Seattle, Boeing once symbolized American strength. Each plane that took off carried the American dream. But now, many Boeing planes fly to China for finishing work. They are built in the US, then flown across the ocean. In China, they are painted, fitted, and delivered to customers. It sounds strange, but it's true. Why? Because China buys a fifth of the world's planes. China told Boeing, "If you want to sell here, build here." So Boeing agreed. It makes business sense. But symbolically, it hurts. Because Boeing is not just a company. It's a symbol of American skill and independence. Now, even that symbol has a foreign address. And that says everything about where the world and America is heading next. It used to be a proud statement. We didn't just fly, we made people fly. But now, with part of Boeing's 737 completed in China, people are asking something deeper. When your plane is half built in China, what else is only half American? That question echoes in Seattle. A city that once built the sky, now has more engineers than jobs. Boeing was always proud of precision. But in recent years, it has faced crisis after crisis crashes, technical defects, management errors, and safety problems. Some people joke that maybe they should keep painting the planes in China but do the quality checks in America. The truth is more complicated. Boeing is not leaving the US, it's just adjusting its global strategy, part for profit, part for politics. For ordinary Americans, though, it feels like watching a symbol fade. Like a small airplane disappearing into the sunset. Seattle used to say, "Boeing builds planes," but Boeing also built this city. Now, as production moves elsewhere, it feels like the memory of that city is being erased. Is Boeing's move a smart survival plan? Or a sign that even American pride has a price? A price sometimes painted in Chinese red. Now let's look at another giant, General Motors. Do you remember 2009? When American taxpayers saved GM from bankruptcy. It wasn't just a company we saved. It was a symbol of, made in the USA. It stood for steel, hard work, and Detroit pride. 15 years later, GM is collapsing again, but this time, in China. In 2024, GM wrote down over $5 billion in losses from its Chinese operations. It closed its Shenyang plant and cut its local joint venture. Buick and Chevrolet models that once sold fast in Shanghai now sit unsold, covered in dust. The newspapers call it restructuring, but let's be honest, it's a long goodbye. In the early 2000s, GM was king in China. It had more than 15% market share and sold millions of cars every year. Americans were proud. We didn't just sell cars, we sold the American dream to the world. But then, Chinese carmakers like BYD, Geely, and NIO appeared. While they built electric cars, GM kept polishing gasoline ones. Now, General Motors, once America's most powerful carmaker, is slowly becoming, generally missing. The company has shrunk in the US, withdrawn from India, Indonesia, Russia, and now China. They say they're focusing on their core market. But that sounds like a soft way of saying, we've lost too many places already. The impact on Americans is clear. Thousands of jobs are gone. Factories that once supplied parts for export are closing. An entire generation of workers is asking, "We saved GM with our money, but who will save us now?" One worker said that question sounded like metal falling in an empty workshop, cold and echoing. In China, people call Buick their grandfather's car. In America, people say, "My car was made by someone else." GM used to make millions of vehicles every year. Now it's struggling to defend its place. It promises to go electric, refresh its brand, and rebuild its image. But it sounds more like a PowerPoint plan than real change. This story isn't just about business. It's about belief. Americans once believed that building cars was part of our identity. Now, even that belief is fading. GM was once the biggest company in the world. Today, when we look at BYD's revenue, the roles are reversed. China produces cars for the world. America produces PowerPoint slides. Is this just a normal change in industry? Or proof that America is now better at saving companies than letting them learn to survive? As GM, the symbol of the ground, struggles to stay alive, and Boeing, the symbol of the sky, repaints its planes in China, we have to ask, is America flying away from its own dream? When people say American corporations are leaving the US, it sounds like betrayal. But maybe it's not a farewell, maybe it's a reshuffle of roles in one big global family. The US still sits at the head of the table. But the dinner is now cooked and served in Asia. Think of the world economy like a human body. America is the brain, designing and planning. Europe is the heart, managing money and rules. Asia is the body, the arms and hands, doing the work. And when one part gets tired, another must work twice as hard to keep the body alive. The problem is, Americans keep talking about innovation, while Asia is learning how to create. By 2025, over 60% of US consumer products will have at least one part made in Asia. Phones, laptops, cars, even electric toothbrushes. If you removed everything made overseas from daily life, we might end up eating dinner by candlelight, not for romance, but because we couldn't order food without imported technology. What's leaving America isn't just factories. It's the belief that America can do everything on its own. Our grandparents believed, if an American makes it, it must be good. Now they see, assembled in India, or made in Vietnam, and stay silent. No anger, just quiet disappointment. Globalization hasn't died. It just changed its address. Now we read, designed in California, built everywhere else. It's a borderless empire. America still writes the script, but other countries play the main roles. And those actors are getting better every year. People joke, we used to export dreams. Now we export jobs and import disappointment. It sounds funny, but it's true. Here's the paradox. America became powerful by sharing its influence. But the more it shares, the less control it keeps. It's like teaching someone to drive and realizing one day they drive faster than you. So are we leaving America behind? Or just balancing the world again? Maybe both. Because today's world doesn't have one hero anymore. America is still the director, but the audience now has more choices. When American products are made in Asia, can we still call it the American dream? Or is it now a global dream, one where everyone works together, but no one knows who's really leading? Maybe the real question isn't who makes what. It's whether we're still proud of it. Because what's leaving America isn't just factories, it's pride. Apple left to find cheaper labor. Intel sent its smartest chips overseas. Ford moved American muscle to Thailand. Boeing repainted its planes in China. GM is still trying to find its way home. Some call it retreat. Some call it globalization. I think it's something else, a nation trying to stay ahead, even as the road turns. The real question isn't about money. It's about identity. If American symbols are made by workers 10,000 kilometers away, then who does the American dream really belong to? What do you think? Is this smart globalization or a quiet loss of soul? One factory, one worker, one night whistle at a time. Please share your thoughts in the comments. I read them all and every opinion matters. Because this story isn't just about companies. It's about us. If you enjoy understanding the real stories behind the news, subscribe and turn on notifications. The world changes every week and every story helps us see where we're really heading. All data and opinions in this video come from public and trusted sources. The goal is not to attack anyone but to think deeper. Thank you for watching till the end. See you in the next video.